guys, it's Anani. I hope you all are doing well today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's video, we are going to be talking about living off grid. What is it truly like to live off grid? It's kind of like a thing now, right? People, living in tiny houses, people, living in their vans, people doing all of these unconventional things that at one point were seen as like really out there, have started kind of becoming more normalized in today's society. For those of you that don't know, I was actually one of those people who lived off grid. My family and I still have our land. We do still live off grid and things like that, but I'm kind of back and forth now. As you guys know, I'm about to move to Jamaica, so I'm not really full-time there anymore, but I was living there for about 6 whole years of my life, from the time that I was 19 to the time that I was 24, and it was quite the experience. Without further ado, let's get into today's video and let me tell you guys what they don't tell you about living off grid. Number one, people are nosy. And when I say people, I mean more so like your family, your friends, stuff like that. When we moved off grid, it was very apparent that people were very confused, right? People were like, what in the world? We all of a sudden became the butt of a lot of people's jokes, right? And that is something that I wasn't quite expecting. You think that people would be like, wow, like that's amazing, and kind of try to give you encouragement and things like that. But no, that's not always the case. What we found was that a lot of people, would try to kind of bogart their way in, or prematurely try to see our land, or, things like that. And it was a lot. It wasn't just one or two people, it was a lot. We kind of felt obligated at a lot of points in time to kind of like just let them in, even when we knew that we weren't ready. It became very stressful. So that is one thing that I did not know. People will be very nosy, and people will actually be messy. Be prepared to be kind of the butt of the joke, right? Depending on what kind of family you come from. And don't feel, like I say, obligated to let people in when you're not ready. This is your experience. This is your time. Take your time. Get everything just the way you want it. And then, only when you're ready, then you can allow people into that space so they can see it. The next thing that I learned when living off grid, only join forces with people from 80% to 100% on the same page. I cannot stress this enough. And of course, this is for the people who are kind of looking into doing maybe group off-grid living and not like solo. But yes, if you're going to do that, do your vetting. Do your due diligence. Make sure everybody is cohesive and they know okay, this is the goal. So when you have one person whose goal is A, but then one person whose goal is Z, and then one person whose goal is J, it will completely derail progress, mess up morale, prevent projects from being completed, and the list goes on and on and on. Only link up with people who you mesh with, and that your energies are cohesive, and you all know your goals, what you're doing, why you're out there, and then go from there. Another thing I wish I knew, guys, we have about 8 people living on our off-grid community as of right now. My family and I, we purchased 6 acres. 6 acres of land for our off-grid community, and we thought that oh, we could easily maintain that and things like that. But let me tell you guys, you don't need all of these acres of land to live off grid. If I were to do it differently, I would actually recommend my family and I to only maybe buy 2. Honestly, only buy 2 acres, because when I tell you 6, too much. It is so much land to mow. It is so much land to de-weed. It is so much land. You actually don't need a lot of land to live off grid. You can be more than comfortable with just an acre or 2, or even less than that if you're just a single person. Another thing I learned from living off grid is that solar panels and water catchments are a yes. And eventually, even at my house in Jamaica, I will be converting my electricity to solar. water and my water to water catchments. Do your research. If you feel comfortable, like my mom was, and kind of, you know, trying to do your due diligence to learn how to do solar, highly recommend it. If you are not that comfortable, I would recommend sourcing it out. I am a firm believer in free electricity, and free energy, and free water.
You're making us pay for grapes? Apples?
I think it is absolutely outrageous that we have to pay for water. I think that's crazy.
You're making us pay for water, you son of a...
So yes, I am still a believer in that, and I actually will still be bringing that with me to Jamaica. Another thing that I learned, so I am a battery. Pause. It is very important to pace yourself. Slow down. It is not a race. Pace yourself. I have a very bad habit of moving. I'm just always like on the go. Like, I don't sit still, and a lot of times that translates into what I do. So there was a point in time where I was just trying to like just blow through projects, right? And just like try to get everything done and go and all these kinds of things because of this imaginary timeline, you know, that I had in my mind. And I realized later on that that was a horrific idea. I ended up hurting myself in the process. I ended up kind of developing some ailments and a whole bunch more. And like I say, all in the sake of, you know, just trying to get it all done and all that kind of a thing. But no, if you blow your back out in the process, you definitely won't be able to complete anything. Slow down, pace yourself, and know that everything will be completed when it needs to be completed. This next one is very important. It is something that has bit my family and I so many times, and that is skimping. Skimping on things and not waiting until we are able to do it 100% right the first time. We were trying to hurry up and rush and get projects done. But what happened is we started taking shortcuts and, well, maybe we just need this, or, well, let's see if we can do it without this, and things like that. And then what happened is we ran into the problem of having to redo it all later. It would break, or, you know, crack, or, you know, depending on what we were doing, it would end up where we had to keep redoing it several times over again. And we would get so exhausted, so tired from doing what we call the redo. Don't skimp. Do not skimp. Don't try to cut corners. No, like when you are trying to construct something, or, you know, build something that you want to last and be a lasting landmark on your off-grid community, do not skimp. Do it right. Do it right the first time, so you won't have to spend triple the money in the future trying to correct your mistake. Another thing that I learned, again, it was very interesting, my experience on my off-grid community. It came where the women on the land started having to do a lot of the back-breaking kind of work that a woman's body is not accustomed to whatsoever. We powered through, and, you know, like I said, we did what we had to do. However, I would recommend, if you're a woman out there and you are maybe doing all women's group, or you're doing this solo, if you can, source out the work, right? Not that women can't do it, but should ya? We ended up breaking our bodies down quite a bit for the sake of trying to compensate for the help that we weren't getting, right? If you need chopped wood, if you can find a man to chop it for you, have them chop it for you. It's like a business that chops it, pay them to chop it. Try to take some of the pressure off of you, because it is a lot. It is back-breaking work living 100% off-grid. Like, we weren't connected to city, we weren't connected to water, we weren't connected to any of that. This was 100% off-grid living for heat, wood-burning stoves, and things like that. So what you can source out, source it out. Save your body from the regret of doing it all yourself later. Along with that, again, I know some people, when they live off-grid, you know, you see all these beautiful pictures of, you know, all of these different kinds of crops and things like that, which is lovely. However, I recommend when you are just starting off living off grid, until you become a garden master, stick with a handful of crops. Learn how they work, learn how they grow, learn what they like and what they don't like. And then only after you master that, then you can start delving into other crops. I would say stick with maybe seven crops until you get it like you like it and you say, yes, like I think I've mastered this. Then you can tack on more. But until then, stick with what you know. Living off grid was not doom and gloom. It was a learning experience for sure. Would there be things that I would do differently? Absolutely. 100%. But what I will say is living off grid was an experience that I think I needed. I connected with myself, I think, in a way that I could never have been able to if we stayed in the suburbs. I learned a lot of things about my spirituality. I learned a lot of things about strength. I learned a lot of things about women empowerment and what we could do. I learned a lot of things about people's character, for sure. Some things hurtful, you know, but some things eye-opener. I learned that nothing falls apart. Everything falls into place. Persistence and sticking to something and seeing something to fruition, it does give you reward. You know, I don't regret living off grid whatsoever. In everybody's life, I actually think they should. I think they should do it. Even if you don't do it forever, do it for a stint. Because like I say, you even see things that you could never see, you know, in the city or in the suburbs. But what it really looks like, you know, like when the seasons are changing. Or seeing, you know, deers, you know, coming out of the woods, you know, for that time in the fall, or, you know, like families of pigs, you know, coming out for the spring, and butterflies, and just a whole lot of stuff, you know. The thrill of, you know, planting a seed in the ground, right? And praying for rain because it's a drought. And, you know, if you don't get the rain, you're not going to get the food. You know, certain things like that. I can't even really explain the journey of it, but like I say, I know I wouldn't change a thing. I think it was definitely my wilderness experience. Like I say, I will be putting solar and water on my house in the future. So I won't be, that is always still the goal, to live off grid. I do not believe in being tied to the system whatsoever. Yeah, guys, with that being said, those are the things that I would recommend for anybody trying to live off grid. If you guys are interested, look what I got. My hard copy of my book of how to buy a house in Jamaica. So if you guys are interested, I do have that available now on Amazon. The link is in the description below. It's got great information from my personal contacts to helpful worksheets, to do's and don'ts, to how to apply for mortgages, and just all kinds of stuff in this thing, guys. So please do get that. And I also, guys, have my Black women's coloring book now available too. I actually love to color when I am on my flights and things like that. I'm going to be taking a flight soon, so I will actually be coloring in my coloring book. Yes, guys, do go get that. It is a great thing to do if you're bored or you have anxiety or you're traveling and things like that. And this will be linked in the description box as well. We are so close to being in Jamaica, and I hope you guys follow along on the journey. Have a good one, guys. Bye.